let's do this. But I just want to like quickly thank you for your time, and like just want to introduce you. I mean, you have your own show, The Inbox.
Mm-hmm.
I still like I'm a subscriber of yours, but I still have to listen to the episodes. I listen to snippets. Really cool. Love the idea. But now you're on our show or my show. No, so the idea is basically that I sort of had the feeling that there's this mismatch, or we spoke about it before, right? There's this mismatch between like the SDR who doesn't really understand the prospect, and there's like SDRs are not really understood on the same way. So I just have invited over the last like 3 or 4 months, like I think we are on 20 different people. The likes like Kai, the likes like Lauren, the likes of Devin Reed, the likes of I interview Mark Young, the CMO of Dooley. I interview next week to just understand like how, you know, the brightest minds think, feel, and act. And instead of asking them like the traditional questions, oh, like how did you find the way into the role? I spoke to Devin Reed, and Devin said like, Jan, the best content out there is answering the question, what are you passionate about? And if you find the answer to that question, then you can build on that, and then that's genuine content, right? Because I follow you, the community is following you. I think you're close to over 10K followers now, which is just insane. You're super genuine. You're about elevating SDRs. But what are you truly passionate about, Charlie?
I think something that drives me is progression, and not just progression of myself, but also progression of other people, which is why I actually started posting in the first place. Because when I first started the SDR role, I sucked. I hated it.
Really?
I was in a company which was like cold calling all day. And it was like pitches, and I really hated it. And I was like, I can't do this job. So I was then lucky enough to work with an amazing company, some amazing sales leaders to help coach and progress me. But when I was in that period of for a year and like not really understanding, like, why am I so bad at this? Why aren't I doing well? Why do I feel so bad? That period of time, I didn't really have anyone to look up to or anyone to help me. So why I started posting was I was like, if there are other people in the same situation that I was in, which there definitely is, I want to be almost like a voice to be like, I've been there. It's really horrible, but it does get better. And here's some stuff that you can implement to help you on the way. So I think the progression part in myself, but in others, just to kind of help out really, because I wish I followed someone. I mean, Josh Braun and everyone was still around there, but I wasn't really a huge user of LinkedIn. So I just kind of want to be that person that people can relate to and understand that it's not always going to be crap.
That's awesome. I love it. Tell me about that period. Like a year is a long time of not finding success in a role.
So I'm super competitive and I'm super determined. I was like, I can't be bad at this forever. I was like, I refuse to not get good at it. I can't just quit and give up, which is why I stayed for so long and tried so many things. But you know what? Sometimes a company just can't support you in the way that you want to develop and you want to grow, which is why I then looked at other companies, and I was very kind of specific on who I wanted to then join. I knew I needed someone who could coach me and develop me, because although I'd had a year experience as an SDR and I was pretty good at cold calling by the end of it, I didn't have the like all-round set of skills for like email writing and LinkedIn, because we just didn't use it. All we did was we had a list on Salesforce and we'd call through them. Next day, call through them. And that was literally my life for a year. So I was like, this might work for the business and it might create them opportunities and revenue, but it's not a place where I want to learn or where I necessarily wanted to be. But yeah, it was tough. The first like 6 months was really tough. Really difficult, but I was just like, I can't be bad at this. So I just persevered, and eventually got better, got used to rejection, stopped caring as much what people thought of me on the other side of the phone and stuff like that, which is why then I started caring less. So I got better as a result. Yeah. Oh,
that's a great answer. We have a guest coming in. Show us the doggo.
What's your view on cold calling?
He's so big now. He's so big now.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is he allowed on the table to jump up?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have the same dog. It's a what is it? Cockapoo. Yeah, we have a Labradoodle, but it looks the same, but in black.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to cuddle her now.
She's a bit sweat, so she's a bit smelly.
Classic. But I feel really love this piece because I think you read mostly about successes on LinkedIn, which is fine, but it also creates this picture that everybody's successful, that everybody's hitting quota, everybody knows what they are talking about. So when you were at that point where you sort of going through this development of like, hey, now I haven't, like, people can't support me anymore. How like, walk me through this thought process. What was that like? When did you reach the point? Okay, like, I've learned how to cold call now is the time to move on and look for a new challenge.
I just wasn't really progressing. I was the same. I was doing the same thing every day. And what motivates me is progressing, right? Which, if I get to a point in a company and it's almost stagnant and there's nowhere else I can go, the next point for me was an account executive at this company, which I wasn't as passionate about the product or the persona. It was like IP analyst, and it was a very niche. And although I'm glad I got to learn about that persona, I knew it wasn't really me or what I was passionate about. I love the idea of selling to sales and marketing. So that, not as passionate, but also like I was doing the same thing every day. And after like 3 months of doing the same thing every single day and being like, what's next? I felt like, okay, now's the time for me to move on.
Great. Yeah. And then what did you look after then? Because like, progression is just important, but there are also a lot of people that are like, they don't bite through, they don't persevere, and then they start a new company at ground zero again. You know, it's like, oh, like, how was your thought process there? Because you did it a year. I think that's fantastic, and I want to encourage people to, like, you don't have to quit only because you're not good at it, but like, just you're not liking the role, of course, but these are things to get into, but you can get better, and as long as you have a reason to persevere. Like, what was next then, like, for you?
I knew I'd only scratched the surface of what it was to be an SDR, which is why I wanted to target a new persona to understand a completely different industry. I went from a solution that used IP data to help you map against your competitors to an event solution that helps you better qualify leads at events, and it helps you capture them and integrates it into Salesforce and stuff like that. So I wanted to learn a different industry and persona and stuff like that. But then I also knew, like I said, I hadn't scratched the surface as what it was to be an SDR. It was very like transactional, what I was doing before. And I was like, this can't be the way of a sales process at the initial stage. I started following more people like Josh Braun, Jason Bay, and all the stuff that they were saying resonated with me so much. And I was like, I want to be doing this, but the company wasn't really supportive in it, which is why I wanted to find one that was. So then I moved to a company called Accrue, which amazing. They helped train me, develop me, and almost gave me the freedom to do kind of what I wanted to do. If I was like, I want to try this idea, they'd be like, yeah, go ahead and try it.
How do you go about that? Like, when you have an idea, you go to your boss, I want to test it. What's your thought process there?
I think firstly, you have to prove that you know how to do the basics. You can't just go in and be like, I want to do this crazy campaign if you're not hitting target. So I firstly proved that I could hit target and that I was consistent with my day-to-day activity. And then after that, doing that, but also trying things on top of it, not completely stopping anything, just trying little things, incrementally changing. So, for example, we were targeting people who went to events. So I was like, why not try, instead of us just going through target companies, why don't we target events? So why don't we look at, for example, an event in the Excel Center and go through the exhibitor list and target it on that? So then we can start scaling this outreach and be like, look, I know you're about to attend this event. Usually the challenge is when we're speaking to people who are attending an event like this is X, Y, and Z. I wanted to try different things, not just because I wanted to get more meetings, which I did, but I think it also motivates you as well if you're constantly trying new things, constantly iterating instead of just doing the same monotonous task every single day.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point, but there's also a fine balance of when you have too many ideas and you want to change everything and then you don't see results. Like, what are your tips there?
Yeah, like I mentioned, just incrementally try things. If you saw our Slack channel, I am a nightmare. I'm constantly like, I have this idea, I have this idea, I have so many ideas. What I want to do is I just write them out and then I almost get other people, you don't have to do it alone, like get everyone else to put their thoughts into it and they'll be like, oh, this is something I've also thought of. Let's all try this together. So then we'll try one little thing, even if it's something small, like an A/B test on our first video, just all trying something, gathering the data, doing it for long enough that you know, is it working, is it not? Gathering the data, if it works, great. What else can we then test? I think it's important to not do 100 things at once. Start with one thing on top of your day-to-day, get the whole team involved so you have a bigger data set. And then if it's successful, great. But if it's not, it doesn't matter. Let's try something else.
Yeah. Probably like not taking things personal as well with your own ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. It's just an idea. Like, I don't know the brains of like what salespeople are thinking day to day. So how am I supposed to know what's going to work and what's not?
Yeah. Awesome. So to circle back on your first passion, it's like being there for someone that's maybe struggling, that's having a hard time and seeking for something or a person to lean on to improve, to progress in their role of being an SDR. How do you find we both try to be active on LinkedIn and it comes naturally, like you have an idea and you write it down, but how's your thought process going there? Because you are clearly one of the thought leaders in there. People are turning to you for advice and look up to you, right? How is that thing developing? Because you're onto something.
What, in regards to creating a brand for yourself, or it takes time? Like, don't expect to do a post. Although some people, I know people at our company have done their first LinkedIn post and then they get like thousands of engagements and they're like, oh, wow. And then it's overwhelming because how do you then top that? I've been posting for over a year now. And if you look at my initial posts, they're like little engagement. They're probably not well written. I have a completely different tone. And I think it's just being consistent and finding what you enjoy posting about. At first I posted about like demand generation topics because that was my persona and I was like, I want to look credible to them. But I soon started sprinkling in like sales tips and stuff like that and sharing my experiences. And that was the stuff that I found easiest to write. Not saying it was good at first, it definitely wasn't. But over time, as you get more consistent, your writing will improve. The speed at which you type and you write will improve. And understanding different topics and being able to write about them, that will come way more natural to you as well. It's probably only in the past like 6-7 months that I've found a flow or I found a rhythm that I've been able to reach out and engage with different people, which made it then easier for when I thought of a topic to implement it into that structure. It worked for me, it works with my style. But the other thing is you don't have to think about topics yourself. You don't have to come up with brand new topics every single time. So something that I would do is I would scroll on LinkedIn, which we probably all do for way too long each day, and I would stop on a post that maybe has lots of engagement or is maybe a topic that I enjoy. So let's say Josh Braun posts something about using different call to actions or something like that. If I liked it and it had a lot of engagement, I would write my outcomes and my takeaways from that post. I'd write that down, and then the next day I can then rewrite my own post around a topic that I haven't had to think of from scratch, because why do I need to? So that one, slightly stealing people's ideas, but kind of putting your own twist on it, because if you're writing a post about how to stand out, everyone knows that topic. It's not like something that I've invented. There's no reason why other people shouldn't be sharing their views on things like that. So that's how I kind of saw it. So one, getting your ideas from other people. Two, I listen to loads of podcasts. I read a lot on like Flipboard and stuff like that about different sales topics. So when I find something interesting or exciting, just jotting it down. Okay, now I have another topic for a post. My day-to-day, I do sales. If I'm struggling with something, I'm going to write it down, and then I have all these different ideas that then I can use to create content with.
Awesome. And just like circling back, because like you clearly made this journey from like the struggler, like I don't like, it's tough. Like my first sales role, I disliked it as well. It was like 100 cold calls a day, like at least 10 cold calls, like an hour, and I was selling a product that there was just no market fit for whatsoever. I just had to sit, dial, pitch, and say goodbye. And now you are in the role where you're smashing it. Like people turn to you. Like, have you started to reflect upon it, like Charlie back then and Charlie now? What has changed, or what are maybe the three things that you were thinking of, like, wow, looking back, like if I reflect upon that, like I shouldn't have stressed about that, or like what have you learned?
Definitely that, not stressing. I think I do that. I'm such a stress head. I'm so target orientated, I'm so number orientated that when I'm not performing well, I let it really affect me. So I don't let this affect me anymore. I sometimes have weeks when I don't book meetings, like it happens. So before I would have stressed about that, like I've had no's all week, I would have been stressing, oh my God, my target, I'm not going to hit it. Whereas now I'm like, doesn't matter. I'm trusting in the process. I'm just going to keep going. And if I don't hit target this month, does it actually matter? Is something bad going to happen? No. I then can just reflect and be like, what am I going to do next time? You just can't let it affect your mental health, or as soon as you leave work, you just can't let it affect that. So I'm still numbers orientated, but I'm more in regards to what I can control. So I know I need to be doing about 10 videos a day to put into my cadence, 10 videos a day, and then I should comfortably hit target for the month. If I'm doing that and at the end of the month I'm not on target, at least I've then done what I can control. I can't control if people are going to say yes or no, or where their company is in regards to their sales process and stuff like that. It's stuff I can't control. So focusing on the controllables, and not stressing. Also, like, I have not actually changed that much since when I started. It's just taken me a little while to understand how to do the role and how to do the role well as getting the right coaching and supporting. So I've not actually changed a huge amount, minus my mindset and not stressing. I just think it took me way longer than most to get the grips of this role, because it's so difficult, and I didn't like the idea of rejection, and I overthought everything because I'm such a perfectionist. I think it's just taken me a while to get used to the idea of it, rather than me actually changing as a person.
Yeah. So what were the three things you would have told your younger self stepping into that SDR role?
I think don't stress, talk to more people. I don't know why I didn't do this. I mean, I was a graduate, of course, I didn't really know this, but my persona was at my company. So not just that, but I had a load of talented people around me. So why aren't I dissecting what the top performers are doing? Why aren't I getting into the brain of people within my company? But also, why aren't I reaching out to other people who are, yes, my prospects, but not to prospect them, but to learn from them? I wish I did that more from the beginning, just understanding more and just speaking to more people about their day-to-day, because yes, you can get given a script, or yes, your company can tell you about the persona. But for me, it was when I started speaking to more sales leaders, for example, or marketing leaders, that it actually clicked to me, like, I actually get your challenges because you're telling me face to face, rather than it coming from internally.
Yeah. No, that's awesome 3 tips. And I think it's rare, like most, because I mean, I also work in outbound team, I had some people come and go. Some people are just like, I give up, but other people like you just bite through and, love it. And then, or like, they don't love it from the beginning, but they fall in love with the role, right?
Yeah,
they are curious, they have, it's hard, but once you describe this like click more, it's like, oh, it makes all sense. Like the dots just align.
I think mindset's a huge thing, not to stress about, okay, if you're not performing well, but you're doing all the right things to be a top performer, don't worry about it. Just keep persistent, keep being consistent, and the results will eventually come. It might take a bit longer, but it's really difficult to keep going when you're not getting the results you want. So just keep pushing through that period. I think that's probably a huge tip for me.
That's awesome. So you said like, first thing passionate about is progression, SDR role. So that's one thing that keeps you driving, keeps you pushing through. What's the other one?
Progression of me also, but also other people. I think I don't know if this is a passion, but I am so competitive. Like I am for example, I was playing checkers last night and I won 3-1, and I was still annoyed the fact that I didn't win that other game. I'm so competitive. I'm like, why didn't I win that? What am I going to do to win and absolutely smash Andrew next time? I'm really competitive, and I think that kind of drives me. So I don't know if that's a passion, but it's something that keeps me clicking over every day, because I kind of look at this future state of me and I'm like, where I want to be. And I think this competitive nature of me kind of drives me and pushes me to get to that place where I want to be.
Where do you want to be?
Yeah, it's a great question. First step first, I want to learn the account executive role. I want to learn how to close and manage a deal cycle well, just like I have on the prospecting side, but that's only like 20%, maybe even 10% of the entire deal, right? So I want to learn that from me, then doing the entire sales, well, not the entire sales cycle, because I won't have done account management, but from me doing most of the sales cycle, understanding what it is I enjoy from that. Because right now I love prospecting, and the idea of going eventually into a leadership role to help with that side is really great for me. But I have never done the other part. So how do I know? So doing that, understanding what it is I enjoy, and then going from there. I don't need to plan my whole life yet.
You're only 27, so
yeah, exactly.
90-year-old soul. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. What's your favorite like prospecting channel?
I hate this question, Jan. I hate this question. It frustrates me when people do these polls on LinkedIn and are like, what's your favorite channel? Because it doesn't matter what my favorite channel is. I love doing videos. I find them fun, engaging. I also enjoy doing different things like LinkedIn voice notes and stuff like that, but doesn't mean that the person I'm reaching out to also loves that. So I don't like this question, because it's kind of a selfish thing, being like, what's your favorite channel, or things like that, because at the end of the day, it's dependent on what the other person wants to be engaged with. They might love being cold called, and just because I get cold call reluctancy doesn't mean that they care about that. So I think I'm always one of those people to be like, use every single channel, even if you hate one, use them all, because it's about the person. It's not about me and what I prefer.
That's exactly the answer. No, a few people tell you, they're going to tell you, oh yeah, I love the phone. I'm only going to use the phone. And it's like, it doesn't matter what you like. It's about the prospect, it's all about them. And we have to make sure that we add as most value as possible for their time, and it might be a video, that's not asynchronous, they can watch it, but it also might be the phone, when they are free. And want to chat. So
yeah, and just because they're not replying by a certain channel, it doesn't mean they're not seeing it. It's kind of like marketing and advertisement. Like you get surrounded by like LinkedIn adverts and Instagram adverts and like billboards and all this stuff. And just because you then physically reply to one advert doesn't mean that all these other adverts haven't influenced your decision. So a classic example is like InMail. People are like, I'm not seeing responses from InMail and stuff like that, but see it as an impression. I get so many people being like, oh yeah, I saw your InMails, your LinkedIn, I saw all the channels, but the channel that they responded to was the phone. Doesn't mean they've not seen everything else.
Yeah. It's like I try to describe it as like your mother standing in the kitchen with your little brother, but you want her attention. So you're gonna poke her at the back, twice. You maybe even poke your little brother to let the brother know that I also want something from them. And then she's gonna eventually turn. Right? Or so people see it like it doesn't work, I'm not going to use it anymore, but the orchestration of the touch points, of the cadence that will.
Nice term.
Yeah. practicing
Yeah, good.
Awesome. I mean, time is running. We have 6 more minutes. Anything that you would like to add? Otherwise, I have my final question to you.
Nothing to add. I think just don't stress. I think that's something I wish I lived by more. I still will stress as soon as I get into an AE role, watch me stress. I'm going to be a stress head, but I'm still going to try and go back to this mindset of focus on your controllables. The outcome will come, just focus on what you can control and don't stress. Don't let it eat into your personal time. Don't let your bad mood affect anything else. Just do everything that you can control and don't worry about the outcome.
What are your like specific practical tips on that? Because it's you work at home, you're going to close on your computer. The computer's closed down, but the thoughts are not closed down. How do you separate that? Like what's working for you? Because I can tell you, I am struggling massively with that. I'm always in the office if I can be in the office just to have the separation, but like, how do you not stress like practically?
It's hard. I have suffered so bad from like anxiety and stuff like that just because I'm this person who just holds thoughts. So much so that I actually saw someone about it, and there's different techniques that you can use for yourself, and something that works for me, and it sounds so silly and it sounds like how does that work, but this works really well for me. And I do this when I'm about to go to sleep. I always have work thoughts and stuff like this.
Yep.
And Ellie Twigger from SalesLoft has a different technique she uses. She like blows up a balloon and pops it. So she'll blow up a balloon, an imaginary balloon, and it will be, for example, a thought of work. Okay. And then she's going to pop that and it's going to get rid of that thought. She then might blow up an imaginary balloon of something else that's on her mind. And I do the same thing, but I imagine it as almost like this chamber, which is my head. And for example, if I'm thinking of work, it might be like a giant S or something. And in my brain, when I'm closing my eyes, I literally imagine myself physically pushing it outside of that chamber. So it's then not in my brain. And I do this when I start to overthink. If I'm starting to overthink about a certain reply that I got from an email or someone telling me to F off on the phone, I literally imagine it in my head and I'm physically pushing it out like a mini me in my chamber, physically pushing it out. And that's how I push things out. So when I end my day, I literally just push everything out. So then I can focus on me, what I enjoy and things that I want to do. That, and then things like Headspace are so good for just detaching from everything else. But yeah, there's different methods that will work for everyone. That's just one that works for me, which sounds a bit silly.
No,
it works really well for me.
It's like I just had to like think so much of Harry Potter when you're like, like you're definitely a Slytherin. You're a Ravenclaw. I think you're a Ravenclaw.
I got called Slytherin the other day actually. Don't know how to take that. I think that's a bad thing.
I'm Hufflepuff according to Pottermore, but I don't concur with that. Awesome. Last question, like like, how do you see like the prospecting landscape like changing in the next years, and what are you passionate about, or like what are you excited about there?
I love this question. This is one I also ask on mine, because I just love to hear people's thoughts. So I've thought about this a lot. It's a topic that I talk about way too much, actually, because in my head, I'm like, are we going to move towards like the B2C space and start doing like really weird and wacky things like what Thursday is doing to stand out? That, but I think the movement, no longer can you just spam out automated messaging. No longer can you just send like generic persona-based personalization. I think it's going to be way more researched. You're going to have to really stand out by doing your research, but also creating an experience for that person. So showing them that I'm targeting you. I'm not targeting this industry. I'm literally targeting you because of all these reasons. I think using more personalization and creating more of an experience, I think, is key. Everyone has a sales engagement solution these days. So everyone can match that persistence of however many touches you want to do. And our buyers are getting used to this now. So the next step, in my opinion, is, as well as this persistent approach, you need to not just make it a generic robotic experience for them, a really boring buyer's journey for them to go through. It needs to be engaging for them.
Awesome. Yeah. That was a great answer. I have also my thoughts here, but this is not about me. This is about you, Charlotte.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Like, where can people find you?
LinkedIn.
Really?
Yeah. What, you mean physically my address?
No, it was a joke. Like, of course, LinkedIn. Like you are.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I think that's the main one. I will be doing some other things, so maybe in time, other places that you can reach me on. But for now, LinkedIn. Yeah. Awesome. Or if you want to buy SalesLoft, then email me.
Exactly. Outbound lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, Charlotte. Thank you so much. It was awesome catching up.